If you've been collecting or playing video games for long enough, something you've inevitably felt is pressure to own certain games. Now, a lot of times this can be games that were defining games for a console. So, for example, Nintendo, it's probably Mario games. With Sega, it would be Sonic games. With PlayStation, it would be Crash Bandicoot? Metal Gear Solid. But here's a problem. What if you don't like those games? Well, you've got two choices at this point. One, you can either say, screw those games, I'm just not going to play them. Or two, you can feel pressure to own them. Because you know, in the back of your mind, there's somebody saying, you just haven't lived the Sega life until you've played Sonic. And here's where I would push back against that. The thing with Sega is that they're not just about Sonic. Sonic, this guy, they made all sorts of great games, so it's almost sort of an insult to Sega to say that you can't be a Sega fan unless you've played Sonic, because there's so many other great games that they've made. Let's talk about bananas. Now, I love bananas personally, but I would never tell somebody that they're not a fan of fruit unless they've eaten a banana. Now, I suppose you could say that somebody can't just say they don't like bananas until they've tried them, but the problem is, for some people, just the shape, the smell, the texture, all of these things turn them off from wanting to even try the banana. So with something like Sonic, even if they've maybe never played it before, just the concept of going really fast and zipping all over the place may just really not appeal to them without even having tried it. Plus, what if that person's been eating berries, cherries, and all sorts of other fruits to the point where they're like, I'm having the time of my life eating all of these fruits, why would I even need to consider other fruits? But with that being said, for something like Sonic, the pressure is never going away. Sonic is everywhere, especially if you're a Sega fan living in the Sega world. Sonic is not going away anytime soon. But pressure to own certain games isn't strictly limited to those console-defining games. It can come from a lot of other places as well. For example, say you're a really big fan of a certain series, let's say Sonic, and because you're such a big fan of that series, you say, hey, I think I should own all the Sonic games. Ooh, that's a rough one. Having all those Sonic games, much like eating every kind of fruit, could just be a recipe for diarrhea. You'll notice that the title of this video is video games that you feel pressure to own and not necessarily play. The thing is, if you wanted to collect every single Sonic game and just kind of have them as collectibles, you could do that without actually having to use the games. I once tried to collect as many bananas as I could without using them. You know, kind of like in Donkey Kong Country where Donkey Kong has his banana hoard. Well, quick cut to the moral of that story, it was a bad idea. Some crocodile with a crown on its head just came and stole them. I should have known. Okay, so far we've gone over games that define a console, games in a series that you really like, but now let's go over games that are just heavily recommended in general. These games are the Chrono Triggers and Super Metroids of the world, games that perhaps somebody initially bought just to see what all the fuss was about, but if nothing else, I find a lot of collectors like to have these games in their collections simply because they feel like a part of retro gaming's history and lore. It just feels right to own these games even if you're not necessarily the biggest fan of them. This can apply to the console-defining games as well, but I've also seen this apply to games in a specific genre that people really get into. You start getting into a genre and almost immediately you start feasting your eyes upon some of the most highly touted games within that genre. For example, with something like Shoot 'em Ups, one of the first games that people look towards is Ikaruga. I mean, my goodness, the review on the cover implies that people are frothing at the mouth just to play it. The thing is, Ikaruga is not a very straightforward shoot 'em up, and so it may not be for all fans of shoot 'em ups. So you gotta kind of be careful what you wish for. It's not as simple as, I really like shoot 'em ups, and this is a very well-known one, very publicized one, so therefore I'm gonna own it. Although, if we're being honest, that's what people just do anyways. Another thing is that you may feel pressure to own games that are all from a developer that you really like. So let's go with Treasure. Now, Ikaruga is a very different game from Gunstar Heroes, so just because they're both from Treasure doesn't mean you're gonna like both of them necessarily. Heck, for some people who are fans of Gunstar Heroes, they could be better off with that Ronald McDonald game that Treasure made instead of Ikaruga. There is one area where I need to give a lot of you credit for not feeling pressure when it comes to games, and that would of course be with modern games. Now, of course, a lot of us do still play some modern games, but pretty much all of us also play retro games. So as a result, if we are playing those modern games, it's because we have objective reasons for why we want to play them, and not simply because they're the newest, latest thing that's being shoved into our face by the games media. For a long time, playing older video games was stigmatized. To some extent it still is, but my point is that we made the decision to say, screw playing what's new, what we're supposed to be playing, all that nonsense. We're just gonna play what's good, and we think that these older games are good. So if we can avoid that pressure of what we should have in that sense, then within retro gaming, we should be able to apply the same thing, where we just own what we want, we play what we want, and sure, we're gonna hear opinions here and there, but ultimately it comes down to us as individuals to make those decisions. I mean, just think about it. You're never gonna run out of games that somebody somewhere thinks you should have. Unless you have every single game ever made, it's just never gonna end. Plus, it's really not much of a secret that I think something like pressure is just a garbage thing to be feeling within retro gaming. This is our hobby where we're supposed to be safe from negative, crappy feelings like that. But now we've gotten to the point of the video where I've shared my thoughts and I want to hear what your thoughts are. As always, I love hearing those, so be sure to leave those in the comments down below, and I will see ya in the next video. Oh, and one more thing. The next time somebody tells you you should try eating a banana, you tell them I said you don't have to.
He's the retro bird, yeah. And he's talking about video games. He's